Liddy, draws photographer, press photographer, freelance, 60s upwards. I was doing the stock cars, and then we moved and did the speedway. I did all the dance halls, because Bellevue had 6 dance halls at the time. And then I was asked to do the circus and take photographs for the zoo guide. The press officer at the time was a chap called Norman Rowlands. And the beauty about Bellevue, there was always a story there. It never went wrong. You could go into Bellevue, and I used to come out with with stories and pictures. So easy, fascinating place. Some of the stories, we had the world's largest trifle. They built that and made it, and somebody fell in it. They got the kids down from the school, and one of them fell in it. I've got all the pictures. And then they had a chap who used to bury himself in a coffin under the ground and reckoned he never came out, but we seem to know a little bit different, that he used to come out and go in a pub across the road. You got all stories like that. It was absolutely fascinating. We had the leaping tiger that used to go up about 20 or 30 foot, leap off a board and dive into a tank full of water. But we all thought the tiger was pushed. And then we had a diving man who went high up, I'd say 50 foot, something like that. He used to dive down and dive into a tank full of water of about 6 foot, 8 foot of water in a tank. Only a small tank, wasn't big. How the hell he did it, I don't know. We had all things like that going on. It was just never ending at Bellevue, never ending. Well, of course, I was heavily involved in the stock cars. That was where I was really heavily involved in. I started photographing the stock cars, and we had 2 shops down there, and we used to sell the pictures to the public. Obviously, we used to pay a commission to Bellevue, and we'd done that. And then the photographer for the Speedway, who was then Wright Wood, you may have come across some of his photographs. He'd done it for years. He was retiring. He mentioned if I wanted to take over. I said, well, I'll have a go. I wasn't all that keen on Speedway, but I said, yeah, go on, I'll have a go. So I went on then doing Speedway photographs and then selling them to the fans and public. And it just snowballed up from there, because while I was there, of course, the circus was on. So I was heavily involved in that from December up till January. It used to run. The beauty about that was people used to come from all over the world to the circus. We had all kinds of acts. There was Norman Barrett was doing his pigeons. We had all sorts coming on, and it's quite fascinating and interesting. We never really saw, I think we only saw one accident when a trapeze artist fell, but apart from that everything was okay. One of the elephants went wild once and ran into the auditorium, but there was nobody there. It was like a rehearsal, so it smashed the sides and quite some way. And then there's a story of the elephant who used to walk the grounds. I think that was called Raja. And he did one day walk into a cafe straight through the wall, because every time he went to the cafe they used to give him a bun, and they never gave him the bun that day, so he walked straight through. He wanted his bun, and he got all things like that. It was really good. They had a gorilla called Harold, and you'll have to bleep it, but they called him Harold the Bastard, because he bit a keeper's toe off. He was a rough one. But these things happen. I mean, one lad got his head bit by a camel. There's, as I say, it's a fascinating place. There's all sorts going on. Really interesting. I was still freelancing. I've always freelanced, and I was freelancing for they used to phone me up. Norman used to phone me up. We've got some pictures wanted for the zoo guide, or we've got the brass. I used to do the brass bands. They were world famous, the brass bands there. Harry Mortimer, who was now Sir Harry Mortimer, he was. Brass bands used to come from all over the country and compete there in the King's Hall, because the acoustic there was absolutely brilliant. It was really good. Yeah, like I say, Yeah, they used to phone me up and say we could do that. I used to do a lot of the animals. The funny one with the crocodile, a lot of people don't know this, but to photograph a crocodile, he used to go in the cage and the keeper used to hit it on the head with a brush. And when it opens its mouth, I used to take the picture. I drew the line of one day, they said we want some pictures of the cobras. And the only way to do that is to go in the cage and wait while they rear. And I said no. No, I'm sorry, that's out for me. I've got some pictures of it, but outside the cage. And the fish, we had to watch the fish, because in them days we were using photographic gear, which is nothing like today, digital and stuff like that. And we used to have to put lights on them, but you had to be careful. You could only leave the lights on for so long because you'd be frying the fish. There was a lot of expensive tropical fish there. A lot of the stories were staff. If there was lion cubs born, a lot of times, if it was rejected by the lion, one of the staff used to take it home and feed it at home. Used to go home with it, take it and feed it with a bottle. And there was all stories like that. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. The monkeys were good. We used to photograph them. I could tell you a good few stories about them. They were really good. Some of the things. I mean, we all used to go down there when they had newborn monkeys, and we had to, even all the press lads used to gather round and take pictures of them. Yeah, they were okay. And then we had the hippo, the great big hippo, that used to come up to the side and open its mouth. And unfortunately, we always got the people who used to throw dimps in and cans of beer. You got that because it's such a big mouth as they were passing that. So that used to happen quite a lot. Then you had the bears. It was brilliant because they weren't short of it. I mean, the giraffes used to be in the compound. Of course, they could lean over with having a long neck, so the kids used to love that. And get these long tongues coming out. They were good. Yeah. The dance halls, well, as I say, they had about 6, good half a dozen dance halls, and they were always busy, always. I used to go down there on Friday and a Saturday night, going from one dance hall to the next, taking pictures of people, one thing or another. We used to then sell them to them, and we were doing all right. It was quite busy. I followed a chap called Ron Adams, who now's passed away, but he was doing it for a while. Shep, Peter Shepherd, he did it for quite some time, and then he went on to run, I don't know if you've heard of it, Shep's banjo band. Well, it's the same bloke, he ran that. He was on the comedians he used to be on. There was 1 or 2 of us did it, but you finished up on your own in a lot of cases. I mean, it was a big day. There's lots of work there. I did the opening of the beer keller. That was opened by some Coronation Street staff. One of the old ones who ran the pub, the very, very first one. She opened that. You had quite a lot. The beer keller was quite good. It ran for some time. They set it all out with tables, and it was hands up and drinking. They had these great big steins and pints, and it went down well. Again, unfortunately, it all come to an end. But there's loads and loads of stories out of it. It was a shame when it went, because a lot of people couldn't understand. I mean, certainly Easter, coming up like now, you were working your way up to Easter. It would be busy. It was packed. During the back end of, I would say, 40s or 50s, Burton Wood used to have the American Air Base. Well, they used to catch the train from Warrington and come into Bellevue. That was their night out. They used to be packed with Americans, Yanks as they called them. Yeah, it was always busy. The circus, I liked it also. I was so involved in it. I got on well with all the people. That's how I used to go. At the end of every one, I used to do the big group. We used to get them all together to take a group of them all. That was one year when all them people would have been in the circus, and it went down well because all the photographs then used to go all over the world. Then we used to take them back with them. Yeah, there's all kinds of animals and things happening in the circus. Trapeze artists were quite common. They just have animals. I mean, Bobby Roberts, he used to have 3 or 4 elephants at a time in there. Then he did his horses. He did a shooting act, and then we had another fella they called him Jumping Jack. It was Jumping Jack, and he used to go on a trampoline and do a jump and tipple over, and also there was also, it was so fascinating to go down there. It was brilliant. The most popular act, I think the animals always went down well. Horses, elephants, anything like that. They were always well appreciated. Well, they used to do all kinds of, certainly the elephants, they were very good. See, there's a clown with kids, that's what they used to do. There's the elephants. I'm just showing one or two photographs I've brought down to show them. They used to do all kinds like that, you see. There's photographs. Yeah, as I say, Bobby Roberts used to go down there nearly every circus in Europe. He used to be performing there. But there was all sorts. They used to come from all over the world. Round about September, October, the fellow who used to run it, he was involved heavily in Bellevue, called Jack. He used to go and look for these acts. He used to go abroad and look for these acts to bring to Bellevue for the circus. And then we had circusettes, about 3 or 4 girls who used to all dress up. Then we had the ring boys. It was a good show, a very good professional show, there's no question about it. It was good. You might get Bobby Roberts one year, and then you might get another circus coming in with their elephants or acts, and for 1 year, and they used to swap it and change it about. But occasionally you used to get, I mean, you got the clowns, you got Jackie Fossett was a regular there at Bellevue, he was well known. Yeah, and Little Billy, he was a little chap. They used to come there regularly. Yeah. When they'd finish, they used to go and have a dance and a flirt round. Yeah, because the circus didn't normally finish till about 9:30ish or something like that, between 9 and past. And then when they're all finished at the end time, they used to go and have a dance in the dance hall. And of course, you had the big firework display. You mustn't forget that. One of the big ones was called the Storming of Quebec. That was on the island over the lake, and what the Speedway used to do, they had to be out of the track for about 9:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, so that the people could come out of the Speedway into the grounds and watch the firework display and go on the amusements. That's what it was all about. Obviously they were getting the money from getting it onto ends, but it worked. It was all right. People never bothered. They used to love going Speedway. They used to, right, when Speedway finish out, they used to come into the gardens, going probably on 1 or 2 of the amusements. I mean, I remember as a kid going on the amusements, and my parents used to go and watch the Speedway. And then they used to watch the fireworks then, firework display. Oh, they'll go and do a bit of dancing. Oh, this is it. It was so versatile. And that was another professional show, because they used to, like the Storming of Quebec was a popular one, and they used to all dress up in all the gear, and they had proper rifles and everything. And of course they used to row across on the boats and storm it, but all these fireworks were going off. It was really spectacular. There was a few shows there, but that one for some reason always sticks in my mind, Storming of Quebec. It was good. And of course they always also, every November, they always had a big bonfire with a great big Guy Fawkes and fired all the fireworks up. And you couldn't go wrong. For entertainment, you just could not go wrong. I've got some old slides going back really when the trams used to go to Bellevue. There used to be a tramway outside, a tram stop, and used to pull up there. I've got pictures of that, and on slides, so I'll be showing those. Also, we had quite a lot of famous people went to Bellevue. They used to go into King's Hall. I've got pictures of Bay City Rollers. They were there storming. Rolling Stones. All of them used to go to Bellevue in the King's Hall for shows. They have some really good shows there, because the hall itself was brilliant. I don't know if you know, it was like built on a circle, and then of course in the centre for the circus you used to put the ring, or on the brass bands you all used to play in a circle, and the acoustics were absolutely brilliant. They used to love it, the brass bands. Had a good following. It always used to be packed for the brass band. I used to photograph the concerts as well. Yeah, I've got quite a few. Shirley Bassey's been there. Tony Bennett's been there. I've got quite a few. I'm looking around in the files and stuff. A lot of people did go. Famous people did go there. when we used to go abroad, if you ever go on holiday and you got talking to people, they used to just say, oh, we used to do a bit at Bellevue. Oh, Bellevue. Everybody knew Bellevue wherever you go. Even now you can mention Bellevue. Everybody knows it. I mean, unfortunately, the generation now have missed it, which is a shame. But talking to most people, Bellevue, very well known all over. I mean, as I say, I work for the local Tameside Reporter as a freelance photographer. Very often they'll come on and say, oh, we're doing a bit of a feature on Bellevue, and I used to supply all the pictures. It's got it. In fact, we'll be mentioning this when this date comes up. We'll be going in for you, because the reporter used to cover down to Gorton, you see, so it came under Bellevue. And my parents, that was a fun time. It was going in, and I used to take my children to go and have a day out there to see the animals and go on the rides. But then as I got older and got involved more, I went on to the speedway, stock cars, circus, brass bands. I was asked to photograph them. So it snowballed up from them, so you can imagine what stock I've got in negatives and prints. The fairground was excellent, but unfortunately the fairground was doing very well, and then there was a bit of trouble came up and it went private in a sense. And that's when it started to go a bit downhill, because what they did later on, they fenced the fairground from the gardens. They put a metal fence down so that you'd have to pay to go in one or pay to go in another. And I think it tended to spoil it a bit. People had no freeway. It seemed to have gone a bit downhill then. But the gardens, basically, they were good. I mean, they looked after the elephants, well looked after. As I say, I shot a film, and I'll be able to show that, of the actual zoo itself with animals on. Peter Grayson was then the head keeper, and he talks on the film and tells you about the different things. Unfortunately, Peter's gone now, so all that stuff is all on film. Walking around with the kids on the back. A little point to remind, which brought back, was that you had the bobs. Got photographs of the bobs. That was the biggest thing there. And then you had scenic railway. Now, when they decided to start closing things down, the scenic railway, a lad chained himself to it and sat on the top, and he said, "You're not pulling this down." And he sat there for days, and in the end they had to go up with a pair of bolt cutters, cut the chain and drag him down. He protested, sat up there. We also had they had a water chute, and the water chute, we had a lad on there who did a marathon. He stayed on it. He was on there for about a week, I think, something like that, a long time. And he just sat going round and round and round and created this story about the water chute. Yeah, that went on for a time. There was always something going on, honestly. And that's because I went in there one day and they had this big trifle, very near as big as this room, and they'd made it. The world's largest. It's a pretty. I have a case and I got all the other pictures in, but we're coming on the scooter, I couldn't bring it. But I've got all the other pictures in there you could have looked at. We also had a Bellevue streaker. I was doing speedway one night, and the riders went down to the pits end, and they always used to, after the race, they went to the pits to go out and used to discuss. I went down there to get one or two pictures, and I heard this pitter-patter, and I heard the crowd roaring. So I turned around, and there's this chap running up the track with nothing on, absolutely nothing. He had a pair of shoes. So I chased him, and I've got this photograph, I've got the picture. We got this photograph of him jumping over the fence, and all the crowd were cheering and carrying on. It was really good. And then the following day, he phoned up and he wanted a copy. He said, "Is it possible to get a copy of the photograph?" You know, honestly, it was brilliant. There was so much going on. I was going down there. Well, I was doing other work, of course, because I've done my round. I've worked for National and Evening News and stuff like that, and magazines. But if it was a bit short of work and not much on, I could always either phone up Norman or I'd go down myself, and I could always find something. I mean, it's many times I've gone down and said, "Norman, is anything happening?" "Yeah, you've come at the right time. That woman over there, she's taking the baby cub home tonight to feed it." And it's things like that. So I just used to pick the phone up, phone the other newspapers as well and give them the story. And, the first lot to go was the zoo, and then they started, the circus went, like on that date there, that went, and then the grounds were all being pulled down and gone. It was a shame to see it all go. Some of the animals, I don't know what happened to a lot of the animals. You see, another good point about Bellevue, what people don't realise, it was a holding ground for animals, because it was like a quarantine. Animals coming into this country used to go to Bellevue to be sorted before they went like to Blackpool or Chester. They used to do that. They used to hold the animals down there. Yeah, we had a few. We knew a friend, and I'm going to try and contact him, called Brian Kennelly. He was a manager. I'm going to try and get hold of him because he'll be into all this, believe me. And he lived in the grounds in a house with being a manager. And we went to see him one night, and we drove in, and there was this monkey running about all over the place. You very often got monkeys escaping. They had a lion, I think, but there was nothing serious, because to get out of the place, the high walls, there were like 15 foot, 20 foot high walls. So, but it was so funny to go and see him chasing. Yeah. I mean, they had snake pits, a great big clock in the grounds. That was a massive, it worked, everything was okay. And I believe one of the lads went over into the snake pit because it was only like curved, and they had these poisonous snakes, and he went in to get a skin to show somebody, and he got bit. It was okay, but he got bit. Little stories like that, as I say, there's always something going on. You couldn't go wrong. The circus, they're all separate in a sense. The Speedway has its own staff. They had the starters, a fellow called Alan Murray. He worked at Bellevue for years, starting stock cars on Speedway. And then Roy Carter worked the tractor. Dent Oliver was a manager. Like a section had its section, like the stadium had its own staff, really. Renee, there was a girl called Renee who did all the paperwork and admin. That was all together. And then the grounds was run by other people. The amusements had their own managers. And the dance halls were all run by separate. I mean, we've had some fantastic dances there. And also, it was a brilliant exhibition place. You know, it was absolutely brilliant. I've got film there of custom car show. They used to run a custom car show. They had the caravan show, club show, every year. Bellevue was also involved in the licensed trade. They had an exhibition for that. The LVA, the Licensed Victuals Association, they had a great big exhibition there. Exhibition-wise, it was always something going on. They had very good catering facilities, they had great big kitchens, so that they could cater for all the different halls and rooms. They've had one or two misshots with fire. They had a fire just before the circus started. They used to keep all the ring mat and stuff in I think it was a Kent suite, one of the smaller ones, and there was a fire, and there was a bit of a panic because the circus was coming up and they needed a ring carpet. In the end they sorted it, and everything went, they all lumped together and got the place going. Yeah. See, the circus had its own staff. They had ring boys who looked after the place. They had circusettes who were girls. They were all dressed up. There were about 4 or 5 of them. They used to do the job. And then, of course, you had the staff who were working in the kiosks, selling the tickets and programs and everything like that. So really, each department was run on its own. There wasn't just one great. But there again, it was all one big group in the end. You know what I mean? It was Bellevue, and that's it. Yeah, nothing like that. Bellevue gave it all. I mean, even Blackpool Zoo and Chester Zoo, it's a zoo. Whereas Bellevue had everything in. There's entertainment, shows, the amusement, everything is there. Whereas a lot of these places now, they seem to just keep down to one, don't they? Yeah. I mean, I remember going around with some of the staff to take photographs of them, some of the big people, because of course it went to Trust House 40, they got involved in it. And then after that, It seemed to go downhill, and they started to close it and sold the land, and all as it is now is auction rooms and places like that now. They went to the Speedway, and like I say, 9:30 at night roughly, the Speedway had to be over, finished, between 9 and 8:30 it was finished, so that the people could come out of the Speedway and walk into the grounds and go on the amusements and then watch the firework display. You only paid to go in the Speedway, and then that let you, at the end, 9:30 or so, they opened the gates from the Speedway to let you all into the grounds, yeah. So you didn't pay again, no. It's just a one-off payment. You got a lot of people going to the circus, because what they used to do, it was so popular, they went round to a lot of these large companies, AV Rose, all these big manufacturing companies and industrial units. They had a rep going round booking the kiddies to go to the circus on a Saturday. I've got film of all the coaches arriving, and there was loads and loads and loads of coaches. And they went purposely to the circus, yeah, that was all they did. And the circus on a Saturday, they did 3 shows. They did 3 shows on a Saturday. 3 shows, 10, 2 and 9, maybe 4 shows. But they were so busy every time, it was full. The atmosphere was terrific. Yeah. After the circus, on the Saturday, you can imagine you got, I would reckon, I bet you could go up to maybe 1,000 kids from these places, and then they were all invited into one of the exhibition rooms where it was all lined up with tables like this, just rows and rows of tables, and they all sat there and had something to eat. Well, and I've got some, and I also got on the slides I'll be showing a photograph taken of all the rows with the kids sat at the tables. Yeah, you can imagine all them kids. I mean, they'd been to a circus, they'd all hiked up, and then they were given a bun and ice cream. You can imagine what it was like. When you went in there, you did nothing but duck. It was good fun though, I tell you, it was brilliant. The clowns used to come in and mingle amongst the kids so I could get pictures. Yeah. Oh, they never bothered. I mean, they never bothered at all. They said, "Oh yeah, we'll do that," and they used to come in. And in fact, they used to come out in the interval sometimes as well. In the interval of the circus, I got on well with them. Jackie Fawcett and the staff and people, they were brilliant with me. I had no trouble at all. He used to say, "Jack, can we have you out for a few pictures?" Yeah, no problem. So he used to come out and get amongst the kids like that, and then take his picture. Yeah. Oh, it was really good. It was great. Oh, I've been hit with a few buns there. Yeah, they were flirting about all over the place. A sticky cream bun come flying across. Oh, many a time. Yeah. It was. I could go on forever. I mean, there's that much going on and things that was happening. And, I mean, the fun house and all that. We had a fun house with mirrors, the hall of mirrors with these funny mirrors. Then they had all these machines, gambling. In a sense of a gambling, the slot machines, weren't they? They used to run that. They used to have loads and loads of them. Then again, it was a separate unit. The chap used to look after them. Then you had all the different rides. I mean, they had a miniature railway there, which was brilliant. Went all the way around the lake. That was very popular. Always full. Got pictures of that full of kids going round. Yeah. The scenic railway was smaller than the Bobs. It was quite a ride, though. I went on it once. I didn't want to. It was tame in comparison to the Bobs. And the scenic railway, when they were coming down, he was the lad who went up. I mean, you could walk up it because it was all complete, all done. And he tied himself to the top. He chained himself actually to the scenic railway. And he said it's not coming down. There was protesting here, not coming down. He couldn't win. He had no choice, unfortunately. He was there for a good few days though. And from my point of view, being a photographer and working for newspapers, I just used to go in there and I couldn't go wrong for a story. I mean, families used to come from all over the place to go to Belle. Grounds, Stockhouse, Speedway, the animals. In fact, I have, as I say, on this film I've got with Peter Grayson, he walks round with a lion, baby lion. Yeah, I've got pictures of him walking around with that. Kids were running up, and it was so tame. It bit his ear, well, he had it on his shoulder, and it bit his ear, but apart from that, yeah, he used to walk around with that on a chain to give it the exercise.
Really?
Go on. Yeah, it was regular, that. I mean, they used to come out with animals. I mean, I've gone down there and I've said, come down for some pictures, anything happening? Well, what do you want? I said, well, let's make it happen. So we used to get a great big 15-foot python and bring it out and get it around the kids. And it worked. Picture. And it went all over. That's how we did it. I should imagine they love the snakes. The big one. I mean, it must have been about 15 foot thin and 15 foot long. Sheba, it was called. I'll never forget the name. Sheba. And they brought this and wrapped it around the kids. And they used to take the pictures. It was great. Schools and families. You got families. Certainly Easter. Very popular at Easter. Loads of families. Because it's a shame, you see. I don't know exactly. I can't really pinpoint what actually killed it. Was it the fact that petrol became so cheap you could go for a ride out? I don't know. Whereas with Bellevue, you went down there and you paid your fee in and you were there for the day. I mean, they used to get families that used to go in there in the morning and you'd see them at night watching the firework display. They were there all day. There was that much to do. And it wasn't really expensive to go on the rides. So, of course, they were kept busy that way. And then afterwards, I mean, you used to get them coming in the morning and go in the fairgrounds, spend the day there, having the butties and one thing or another later on, and then go into the speedway. And then come out of the speedway and go and watch the firework display. So there's loads you got good value for money and loads of things going on. I always thought at one time, I was outruled and said no, but I always thought it was a jail because of the 20 foot walls. I said, was it ever a jail? And somebody said, no, I don't think it ever was. Because it was fascinating to see that wall was built all the way around. You had two main entrances. The main entrance, of course, was on Hyde Road. And the other entrances was round the back, on the lane there. That was a smaller entrance, but the main one was on Main Road, the big one, next to the pub, Caesar's Palace. Yeah, they had pulling. I mean, I've got some slides of the trams pulling it. The trams used to pull in right alongside Bellevue and unload, and then straight into Bellevue. Oh, the public transport was no problem. Yeah. I mean, when I used to go as a kid, I lived in Droylsden, and we used to catch a bus, and it was no problem at all to get to Bellevue. And all the buses, Bellevue, always backed up for Bellevue. And we used to get the bus, get off the bus, straight into Bellevue. The amusements, of course, because there was that many. I mean, the train, they had a couple of cracking steam trains there, and it was a nice ride as well. That was good. Yeah, and then of course they had the boats. You could go on the boats. So really, that much to do. You used to jump from one to the other. I used to love the circus, I must agree. I used to love that every year, December to January. It was really good. I was down there. I should imagine I must have been down there. Some weeks I'd go down and be there nearly every night. They used to go like every night, and then Saturday they did 3 or 4 shows. I used to love that, meeting the people, and I got on quite well with them. You know, Martin Lacey was one of the lion tamers, which I think he's probably still going, but I don't know if he's messing about with lions. Yeah. No, we had nothing serious. Nothing went wrong. No, it was well run. It was very well run. The circus boys knew exactly what to do, where to put the stuff, what act was coming on next, and where the stuff was needed. The ropes were up for the trapeze. Everything was brought out for the springboard actors. There's also, you know, they just knew what to do, and it just runs so smooth. It was a brilliant show, absolutely, really professional. Animals arriving. I think I've got a photograph of one of the giraffes arriving on the back of a lorry when that first came. They built what they call a tropical house. Got pictures of it, and in there was kept all the flamingos and tropical birds, and they built that to try and stimulate Bellevue, to create more interest, and it did work. They had a hippo in there, and they asked me once to go down and photograph this baby hippo, I jumped over the fence to get this hippo, and it turned on me and it chased me. And all the people were shouting like, "Go on, lad, run!" I ran and jumped over the fence. I got my picture. But it's things like that, you know, there's always still something going on. Well, we used to like the crowd on sometimes. I mean, if you tried to get the hippo further down with the crowd here, you could get the hippo and get the crowd as well, and it went down quite well. Oh yeah, crowd, and a lot of the crowd, they never bothered at that time with photographing people and kids and that. There was no problem. We used to just, I mean, on top of the elephant, you used to just go on top of there. And then you used to have a western afternoon as well. Cowboy afternoon, that was all set up, shooting one another and carrying on. Then they had the Wall of Death, which was a cage. The motorcyclists used to ride in there, going round and round and round on this Wall of Death. That was popular. That used to come down quite a lot. Yeah, I've got some pictures out on slides, yeah, of the Wall of Death, yeah. Oh, I'll tell you. Brilliant. It's a shame, right, see it. You can't explain to people, but I must agree, any time I mention Bellevue, I remember Bellevue, I used to go there a lot, but the older one generation, of course, our generation, but the younger ones, they've missed out. My eldest lad is getting on for 50 now, but he used to go, and he used to take him when he was a kiddie. It was all the kiddies, all the children used to go there. In fact, as later on went on, it was great because there was always jobs as well. There was always jobs coming up. My two daughters used to work on the circus, taking the money and selling programs. There was always, you could always go down and say, "Oh, I've got my daughters here. You can find them a job. Yeah, they can go and do this and do this job. Just do that for tonight. Somebody's not turned in." And it was like on the turnstiles at the speedway or stock cars. I was looking for somebody to do the turnstile. Yeah, it was like I say, each one was individually set up and run, and it worked. The speedway and the stock cars had all its own staff, building the fence, making the fence, the starters, the runners, paint and everything. I mean, they've had some good speedway matches on there, world famous ones there. Some good riders. Peter Collins, I've got all them on film, all racing. Yeah. Nothing you can do. It was a fascinating place to go and have, and it was a shame when it went. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, there's an estate, the estate round there now is named, isn't it? I don't know if you've been round there. Yeah, there's an estate. They built where the zoo was. They built the estate, and it's named as, it's like Elephant Road or Beer Road or Bear Road or something like that. They started naming things after it. Yeah, where they built all these houses. Yeah, but you couldn't go wrong, honestly. It was brilliant. And got its car parks, loads of land, car parks, no problem parking. Yeah.
All right.